The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that he has been in this work for over 57 years and he has caught pure hell. They tried to kill him as a baby minister. He knew how to speak, but he didn't know how to handle the beautiful minds of the people that would attract to him due to his speech. So at some point, his skills were called into question because his handling of things were not good. He said the believers were selling papers and they were stacking them in their cars. Their children were not being properly maintained because the men were trying to stay in the mosque so that they would make a good impression on the captain, minister, and lieutenants. But at home, their papers were stacking and their wives were suffering. He said he had a wonderful captain in Boston named Brother Clarence. He was one of the strongest men that he knew with respect to the law, but that sometimes our strength can become our weakness. The brother was so strong in obedience to the law of Islam, but he was over the men and could not take the shortcomings of others, and he was very harsh with them. When the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was a captain in Boston under Brother Minister Ulysses, he would sometimes be hard on the FOI. And one time, the brother took him into the back as sweet as he could be and said, "Brother, you're being a little too hard on the men." And because of the fact that the minister was never an arrogant captain, when the brother told him that, he went out and tried to practice it. But when he was made minister in Boston, he was not strong enough to check Brother Clarence in his strength that would later become his weakness. So being so harsh as he was, he drove over 40 men and women from the mosque. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan went to see the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad about the situation, and he didn't blame Brother Clarence, he blamed himself. He asked the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad if he could take their sins upon himself. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him, "No, brother. Once they say they know, they are responsible for their own actions. Your captain's strength has become his weakness." So going back, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that when over 40 believers left the mosque, he just resigned. He wrote a letter to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and he told him that he couldn't take it anymore. He could no longer see the believers suffer like that, so he would rather go back into the ranks. Later, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that when he got his letter, he crumpled it up and threw it in the trash. He saw something in his minister that his minister did not see himself. We may be called a minister, but it does not mean that we are qualified. He puts us in positions so that he could qualify us if we are humble enough to allow ourselves to be qualified. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan hurt many people, not intentionally, but just through ignorance and trying to grow. It is we who can transform our nation. The nation of Islam is a tree that needs pruning. Pruning is an act of cutting off leaves or branches that affect the growth and development of the tree or bush. So if the nation of Islam is really going to make progress, change has to be made. Change within ourselves and sometimes change within those who are in positions of leadership. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that if we truly love our nation, we should know when we have done the best that we can and pass the baton off to someone else who can take our nation to the next level. He said, I want each of us to look at ourselves, because it is we who can transform our nation. It is we who can once again make our nation great. Assalamu alaikum.